This is very much a chat. Um, so, yeah, come up to the stage. Put your hand up. First time I'm using this app, so forgive me. You've raised your hand. Perfect. How do I respond to that, I wonder? Require manage. Here we go. Found it. Hey there.
Hey, what's up? Hey, Chris.
It's Chris. Yeah, is that Bill?
Hey, how are you?
Hey, good to see you.
Yes, that's me. Yeah, good to see
Hey,
you too.
hey, Picker. Welcome. I can see your mic's off, but would be lovely to say hi. Bill, this is your app, right?
Yes,
So
it is.
you can
Yep.
guide us through it a little bit. I can see that 5 people are listening, but I can't see them. If you see what I mean.
There's a couple people that are joining from the web, um, and if they have not logged into um, this app, and they haven't connected webcast, their PFPs are not going to show up.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, now we have Davis here.
hey, Davis. Awesome to see you. Stick your hand up, and we'll bring you up to speak because this is very much. There we go. Very much a chat. Hey, Davis, how you doing?
Hey, good morning.
Hey,
Lovely to hear you.
good
Thanks for
My
coming
morning.
by.
first ever space. This is exciting.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for creating this, Bill. This is cool.
Working actually.
Yes,
Hey,
nice.
Picker. Oh, Picker unmuted and disappeared. Hey, so
Good.
let's see what happens. Let's dive into the chat and as people turn up, they can put their hands up. We can bring them in. If you're listening on web, you need to log in there, or come join on mobile, and we can bring you in. But yeah, I kind of wanted to have a conversation in public, really, about this co-created thing that we are doing, and just kind of dig around in it and explore it and see what's interesting. And it kind of feels like a kind of co-creation within a co-creation, because Farcaster as a whole is this crazy. I just got a mention. Sorry, from Bill. Maybe you can help with this. Arjun is here, but but I'm not an approved beta caster, so I can't get into Sharp or participate. Any ideas?
So you're saying that someone is on the web and not able to join? I can give him a link that will
I've
allow
just
him.
Cool. I've just tagged you in his cast, so hopefully. So yeah, we're kind of we're all co-creating, right, within
Yeah.
the kind of the Farcaster seniors, right? And what I thought I might do is just kind of give a bit of a kind of really quick overview of what I'm up to with Co-Created, or kind of where my thinking is at the moment. And then I'd love to kind of get your thoughts on it, what's interesting for you, where you'd like to see it go, kind of all that stuff. And what I'm doing with Co-Created is trying to lean in to building a way for us to collaboratively create output as a community, and to create something that's fundamentally nourishing, that's kind of getting at the core stuff that I'm trying to do as an artist, which is to explore how best to live truly and happily, which I'm kind of aware doesn't sound that I'm kind of aware it's very different from the kind of high octane, where's the alpha, what's the most entertaining fun thing going on right now, and I'm trying to kind of dig into that kind of more eudaimonic well-being, the kind of that the state of contentment almost, and kind of going after what I describe as serious fun, which is connection with people and getting in flow and doing it in a playful way. So that's kind of sort of the philosophical underpin for it all. And we've kind of had some chats and stuff about some of this, and I'm sort of trying to put it out there and go, okay, what if I'm a community artist, then let's make art with and for this community. And if I'm a digital community artist and Farcaster, well, let's build a client and see what the heck art, a client as an artwork might look like. So I'm kind of very clear on some specifics of what I'm going to shift, but also it is an emergent space.
I love that, Chris. Do you remember at FarCon what Bias was interested in talking about and working on with the MySpaceification of Farcaster?
As in, like,
I'll
each
post a
user
screenshot. can set their own design language. For like how their posts appear in the feed, and I don't know. It reminds me of what you're discussing. I'm curious to hear like what form you see that manifesting.
That idea of Bias is kind of definitely plays in it's kind of somewhere in the back of my head for sure. How that manifests, I think there's loads of options. One, the kind of the straightforward one is kind of using the client to consolidate a consistent input into an artwork. So, like, just take the example of the Senior Spire. There was quite a lot of processing that had to go on in the background to essentially just to do data cleaning to get at the raw data, and that meant that I was that all had to happen before the piece could be released. Whereas, imagine the client is very much, hey Prof, welcome. Stick your hand up. I'll bring you up into the chat.
Hey Prof.
But if the client's asking you some very specific questions rather than just reply to this cast, and structuring that, then we can feed that data straight into a digital artwork and build something very much more kind of on the go. So that's one piece of it. Prof, just to catch you up, I was kind of describing a little bit of my thinking and background for CoCreated, and Davis was asking how I'm kind of imagining a client as an artwork. And I have other thoughts, but I'll let you respond to to that first.
I'm curious to hear what other people think for sure, but Chris, something that comes to mind immediately just from my technical brain is that it sounds like a cool potential use for reaction types, and that I could see potentially some kind of like structured feedback reaction type that your client could help people cast and then view those specific reaction types to a cast.
100%. Yeah, I did. I did say something to DWR about that. Do you know where that's at? Reaction types. Is that something? Is that in the protocol, or at the moment? Is that something I can do now, or do I need to wait for it?
I believe the answer to. I don't know the answer. Let me check.
Cool. Hey, Arjun, welcome.
Hey, Arjun.
Thank you.
Glad you made it in here.
All thanks to Bill.
Nice one, Bill. Are you kind of up to speed? Like, have you heard it all, or did you miss a chunk?
No, I heard most of it. I think almost all. Yeah.
Cool. Anything either you or Prof want to say about kind of what I've been saying so far?
I love the whole concept of what you're doing, and I love that I've been able to participate in a lot of it. I feel like it's really different, it's special, and really taps into the Web3 ethos of collaboration. On top of doing this collaboration as part of the blockchain, to me is just, it's right on track, and I love everything you're working on.
Thank you. It's really nice to hear, and yeah, I think there's something that I kind of sort of wrestle with and have to surmount for myself. That kind of I know I'm doing something left field inside a place that's already pretty left field, and it's kind of, it means so much that when you guys are enthusiastic and say like things like that and kind of turn up to this kind of a place where we don't know what it is yet. So yeah, I really value your interest and your and the energy and support you give for it. So thank you.
Yeah, and I really like the co-created spirit, right? This is not just a personal project. It's a community effort. And, this is especially important before we go into permissionless in like less than a week, because I would imagine then the community will get much larger and the signal will probably get diluted. But we should be able to enjoy this nice and cozy feeling of Farcaster community, while we still can. And doing this like co-creation is a great way to getting people together. And like it is something that's everybody can relate to, and something that can unite the community. So it's actually, I'm really excited for your project.
Oh, thanks, Bill. I think I love that word cozy. It's so spot on. It's kind of what's made Farcaster feel so great, I think. And it's definitely something I've kind of played with and thought about with what I'm doing, about like capping participation in some way. I've thought about the kind of community size numbers. I can't remember where the initial numbers came from, but the notion of 15 and 150 people being those kind of being how we've evolved. And so it's definitely occurred to me to kind of go, this is max at 150, and kind of active subscribers when we get to that point, and maybe sort of with the intention of creating that coziness. Curious to how that lands as a thought.
Yeah, I think when the community is small and we can like meet each other in person, right? I think at least the four of us. I don't know about Arjun. I forgot if I met you in FarCon, but the four of us have met each other during FarCon, and that was an amazing experience. And then after that, we were able to talk online and then do some stuff, in the Farcaster virtual space. So this is actually literally a cozy community. You can't do that with like 100,000 people.
No, I was not at FarCon, but I really liked meeting you all here and online. And I think cozy is a very appropriate word for how we are now. And I think the challenge, I'm not sure what's going to look like when we go permissionless next week. I'm not even sure that I really know what that actually means, but I think our challenge is now that to keep that coziness, even if the seniors, as Chris and Adrienne like to call it, is growing, and laying the groundwork now. What Chris has been doing with the CoCreated group, I think that's very important, because I already feel that I am creating with some people, which I've not done before. And I created something with Chris earlier this week, and I'm working with Jay Valeska, and that's a lot of fun. And I think it's important to keep this spirit alive, even if the group is growing. We have a very specific culture on Farcaster, I think. If I look at the difference between Farcaster and some of the other networks, it's much more open to growth and building on and off and with each other than breaking the other ones down. And we need to hold on to that.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you just said. I love that. And by the way, Bill, I need a purple heart, please. Emoji. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Please. um, but I love, can you make that a priority on the list? And I think this is a great example right here, right? You're essentially, I'm able to, Bill is building in public. He's bringing us in. This is still essentially, beta, and we're helping him co-create this thing that he's building. And then, Chris is doing it much more intentional and with a, directly, but I see this, even Farcaster itself is co-created, right? Because we have, DWR always, asking for feedback and really taking that in and changing and I always call them DWR. So like you have that constantly happening where, and you also see people coming together and starting businesses. And this is why, I was trying to talk my entrepreneurship faculty colleagues to jumping on here. And it was like, they were very hesitant. And I'm like, listen to me, please. Like, you people do research on entrepreneurs all the time. I am giving you an incubator to like step into and observe. And it's like, it's not the same. This isn't any other type of social media that you've experienced. And it's really hard to get people to understand that until you've been here a while. And I don't think I fully understood it until I went to FarCon. And that's when it really I had a full on epiphany that this was very, very special. And I needed to be more engaged and really dive in more because it was just going to enhance my life in many ways. And it has. So, the co-creation part of this is so extends to so many different aspects, but I feel like it's really at a core of that Web3 ethos. And I love everything Chris does. It's just so fun, but also Chris, I know, your engagement probably isn't where you want it to be, but just keep showing up. It takes time. I don't think we had anybody watching the first GM Farcaster, which is probably a good thing. We soft launched it and didn't even tell anybody on purpose because we had so many problems, like just tech issues and everything. The first couple of weeks was a nightmare. Like seriously, I still, that's my goal this weekend, is to do the quote unquote highlight reel. Arjun will be getting one for sure. Like of all the like bloopers from that first like month. I'm gonna airdrop it to all the holders. Because it was just, but if you just keep showing up and iterating, and you'll find those people who really resonate with what you're doing. If you're passionate about it, do it for yourself. And if it's hard to do when you're talking about co-creation to do it for yourself, but finding other ways to work around that, I think is worth it, because as you build it, you're going to have more people tapping in for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and that is the heart of what I'm doing. I am building it for myself. Like I'm building a client because I've had this itch to build a client, if you know what I mean. Like it kind of makes it interesting, but it's not like I have a clear image of the thing I'm building. I'm just kind of building the next experiment as I go, and kind of hoping that some of it hits in a kind of meaningful way. And I do find it odd, because this is kind of how I always make art, and I'm not quite sure whether I'm a builder in an artist's head, or an artist I think I'm an artist in a builder's head, if that makes any sense. But this weirdly emergent process seems a little bit at odds with the kind of general sort of dev mindset that tends to be the starting point for people who are going to build technical products, if that makes sense.
It actually does.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, exactly. I've been part of many artist communities now online, like Discourse and Twitter DM groups and Tezos networks, etc. And it's the big difference with that all and what we're seeing on Farcaster now is that there's a lot more a mix of people who want to and can build, and people who want to and can create art. I'm not a builder yet in the sense of creating code. I'm starting. I've just started going into that more. But it's great that we have people who can actually, and somehow it comes together on Farcaster. So I have great confidence that we can build something nice and create a lot of cool stuff, and maybe weird stuff, and maybe left field of the left field of the left field stuff. But I love that. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, agree. How many left fields do we want to go?
As much as we can find, man.
About your poetry format, that does the world need another format of poetry? No, but I did. And it's creativity is always useful to someone, even if it's only yourself. But
no, that's very true, and I wanted to build on what Prof said just about showing up. I've been I've scheduled a new post in my my Substack, my poetry Substack, in about 20 minutes. And I've been doing it every Friday, and this is issue 162, so that's well over 3 years. And it took me about 2 years to get to more than 200. I was stuck around 200, and it took me 2 years to build to 200, like one every month somehow. And suddenly I got, because I was consistent and showing up every single week, I got noticed, and now I'm at 800 and growing. So you have to be convinced that what you're doing is fun for you. You have to be convinced that what you're doing you can do consistently, as Prof just mentioned in GM Farcaster, and you have to be sure to have fun at it. And doing it together is always more fun.
100%. Yeah. Totally agree that. And that's been one of the joys of the poetry thing this week is that it has just been great fun. Like just the two of us or whoever turns up, it's been super enjoyable, and it's the ultimate model for me of connection plus flow plus play. Is like it really. Catherine Price came up with that, and I talk about it quite a lot. But that's what I'm kind of trying to do a client that does that for us or makes it easy for us to have those experiences. Of us to be quite active in it. So yeah, there's but I'm aware I kind of asked the question about limiting it to like say 150, so that we kind of there's a knowledge that we're not just going to kind of get swamped and overrun kind of thing, but it's but I also know myself that I have a desire to be very open to people, and I'm just curious whether me putting that out there, that idea of this community is gonna be limited to 150 active participants, whether that's compelling and appealing, or whether it's off-putting.
I actually think that that's a great idea, because for your client to differentiate itself, you probably don't want to directly compete against webcasts, right? To be a client that's most useful for most people. But if you are targeting a specific community, I guess in this case the co-created community, 150 people it's a great way to basically leverage the protocol in a way that would benefit yourself the most, because if you are still able to be composable with the rest of the forecaster community, you can still reply to them, but you are able to develop a customized features for this 150 people. So like that's again, it's the type of cozy feeling that it's very hard to get nowadays on other crypto platforms.
I'd also say, Chris, it's easier to go up. You know what I mean? Like you could always change that limit if you find it's too limiting, right? But it's kind of harder to cut back once you open it up. So I think starting small is always a good way to approach it when you're starting something new anyway. That's another reason, like when we started GM Farcaster, I'm like, okay, we're going to do 21 minutes, 3 days a week, not every day, not an hour, not, you know what I mean? Like, so that we could be consistent as well, and find that audience, find that rhythm, work out the kinks, figure out what works and what doesn't, and then we'll adjust as we go. So I think that's always in general, when I'm thinking about it from an entrepreneurial perspective, that's always the better way, right? The MVP is always a little bit smaller until you work things out and then build from there.
Yeah, definitely agree. And I think one that Les, by the way, put your hand up, man. So good to see you. Bring you up here, and you can join in the chat unless you're not in a chatty place. But yeah, there we go. I'm not sure I've ever known Les not to be in a chatty place. GM Les, lovely to see you. Thanks for coming, man.
GM Les.
Just to catch up, we're talking about the idea of limiting the co-created community to 150 active subscribers, kind of to go after the cozy feeling and building something kind of niche and bespoke.
Oh, the other thing I wanted to say that I can't remember it was you or Arjun who mentioned, but the idea of like, we have this whole permissionless thing happening next week, and you're going to have all these new folks. And although we're all kind of worried about that, there also could be the benefit of you may find more people who are really interested and better connected to what you're doing and what you're building who might wander in. And maybe that's, so that may be the plus of this all.
The moment. So you go, Liz.
First off, I just want to say thanks for catching me up. Just based off what the professor was saying, it sounds like if you're going for niche and you're going smaller, it's just more about persistence over longer periods of time, as opposed to like mass marketing stuff. I think I think I have some context based off some previous conversations that you and I had talked about, Chris. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, I agree. It's like it fits with my ethos, which is genuine connection, fundamentally. But as you're saying, Bill, it's still all interoperable. It's not like we're going to be having private conversations, but they're not necessarily going to be super obvious out in Walkcast. And also I think it's going to be really interesting for clients to, like, I can definitely see a toggle where you can just switch between community members and everyone, and at in any given channel or conversation, decide who you want to be seeing in the conversation at a given time.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to have some type of private conversation, you could build that into the client, and then basically just say that there are certain messages that are not going to be published on a protocol. It's going to be stored somewhere in a database, right? So I guess by default, everything will be on a protocol. But if there's something that you only want to say to those 150 people and you don't want anyone else to see it, you can. I guess you can still create a functionality for that, and it's not going to be too difficult.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, totally right. It's very interesting, kind of getting behind. No, you go, Les.
No, this is the second time I interrupt you. I wanted to ask you, what's like the one line goal for like if there is one. If there's not, don't bother trying to create one for me. Like what's the like one liner like achievement that you're trying to get to right now?
It won't surprise you that I don't yet have a tight articulation, but I think it's helpful to challenge myself to do it. So the one liner is a nourishing community of people.
I think that sounds good enough right there.
Yes, not bad, is it? But to do it slightly longer, a nourishing community of people who are exploring how to live well in our tech-enabled future.
With that one-liner, I would say you're going to have to go as small as possible, like, because nourishing is like such a personal thing, and I like what Bill said. Like you can build into the client like not public or private kind of deal. But if you're gonna go into the idea of nourishing, you're going into the idea of like someone has to dig deep, and if you're gonna dig deep, you're gonna need the smallest able community as opposed to 100, 150 people or like random people interacting, because the overcome that into nourishing is just too big, and you're gonna need more time. So, what you can do, I would say, try to create like a node that is as 5 to 10 people. And then repeat that node over time, and then the people themselves segment themselves off the time versus the idea.
Nice. So you're kind of saying almost like I kind of think about the 150 as a village. 150 people as a village, and it sounds like you're describing like almost setting up households.
Exactly. And then you build the first community, and then the first community kind of vibes off. Like, you know how Dan the other day said, like, oh, there's like niche cult. I think he said something along the lines of like, oh, there's now niche cultures in Farcaster.
I missed that, but yeah.
He said something along the lines like, now, like, if you dive deep enough into Farcaster, like obviously the text and the communities, like you can start finding some subcultures, right? Like before everything, because it's such a slow timeline and things kind of like, you know, the interconnectedness of the network was still small enough to where it felt like one community. And I think what he's hinting at is like there's another now branch off community that's starting to develop, and I don't even know what that is, to be honest. I haven't had the time to like look into it. So it's like that is what I think you're trying to replicate, that same thing, but you're gonna have to start even smaller, because where like Warpcast and Farcaster was like, okay, crypto kind of deal and crypto native product kind of feel. You're talking about the human person, and that human person needs to tap into their own thing and then bring that about in about like a 5 to 10 or 20, whatever you're envisioning, into that setting, and then have a place for that thing to sit within that setting. And so the bigger the group, the harder it is, which is why you always have breakout rooms in like conferences and stuff like that. So instead of trying to get to the 150, you start at the 5 and then you grow outwards. It's going to take longer. I'm thinking a little product strategy here, but so
no, I think you're spot on, and it's super useful.
It's not the
I
only
wanted
way.
to double click on your note about the niche communities that are developing, and if you guys, I'm gonna guess that you all haven't spent a lot of time over in Farcast Her, but that is one of those niche communities that's really starting to become a little bit, more cohesive and interesting and really cool. So pop in there every once in a while. It's kind of fun if you want to get an insight into the female mind. It's pretty fun.
Can I add to that? Because the other day I was actually going to recast something that Adriana said about Kegel exercises. I was like, dude, if this isn't the proliferation of the Farcaster network, I have no idea what is. Like, it was such an interesting like perspective of like, everyone always talks about Farcaster being crypto, and it's like, there's normal people just here having fucking normal conversations out in the fucking open. And like Farcast, like what you said, Professor, the Farcaster or the Farcast Her one has been one of the top ones on my timeline. Like seeing just like interesting like sidebar conversations.
Yeah, it goes everywhere. It really does. Like that particular channel, I've seen a lot more variety of topics than
Yeah,
probably any other one. Like, yeah, the Kegel thing was
100%.
hilarious, absolutely hilarious. But then there was like a really good combo somebody dropped there about innovation and like a quote about, what is this product? And it was film and it was about romantic devices. And just that was a really interesting combo. And then you can have another one that's about nail care. And then you can have another one that's about women in tech founders. And, it's all over the place, but it's all interesting. So it's
100%.
becoming this like you can bring your whole self here now. It's not just that Web3 self. And I think that's really an interesting shift with the channels, like where you're starting to bring your whole self to the platform.
Yeah.
It definitely strikes me that people who might be interested in what I'm up to are hanging out there. And I am conscious that I've never felt that I can post in that channel.
That's funny. I kind of like that there's hesitation from the men, because it's very like it's been such a male dominated space in Farcaster in particular, that it's really interesting to see that. I've seen other men say the same thing, that they're like, can I post here? Can I comment here? Can I reply here? Is it okay if I recast? And all of those answers are yes. But I also appreciate that, you're walking into the women's locker room, come in slowly, come in carefully. And I appreciate that intention, but also, you're welcome to come in. So it's, but it's really it's a different type of conversation that's happening, and I feel like it's so needed, and it's also making it's bringing in, it's given me an opportunity to find more women to follow on Farcaster, like to realize there are more of us there than I originally even realized. So that's been super helpful as well.
I absolutely love that you brought that up, Professor, because you actually touched up on something that I had been feeling over the last week, and I couldn't figure out how to communicate it, but I think you said everything like so perfectly. Like it's been such a variety and like refreshness of like a part of crypto people doing different things. And by the way, you just co-created crypto. This feels more like what you're trying to achieve, no?
Yeah, it's definitely in a more aligned space for sure. And I think that's one of the things I'm kind of wondering about with this is that I am wanting to build a community, but not necessarily one which is like you've got to be in it every day kind of a community. I'm interested in building something that's kind of quite slow, I guess. That you're kind of it's kind of like the art workshop, maybe. And I don't know the answer to this, but I'm playing with it. It's made, that it's your. I'm hesitating to say the words like the class that you go to, because that's not really how I think about it. But it's accessing that similar stuff that you're like, I know I have this space over here, which is where I know I am going to tap into my expressive creativity over here. And it's kind of just weaving in to your life. You're still going to be going to Walkcast to have those conversations day in, day out. I'm not necessarily wanting to replace those. What do you think?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the conversation we were having in the Nouns channel. I think it was Sixth, Onion, who was saying about building a Nouns client. And I said, okay, but there's something to also being over here on Warpcast where there's some discoverability, and there's, it becomes, if I'm here already, I might see something that I may not see, if I have to go into another client. So I think figuring out how to sort of tie those together is important, so that you don't lose that aspect of it too, or even bringing new folks into what you're doing who may not, know that there's this whole other place. And I think that's, I think you can say the same thing, about Abura, Bill. It's like you're doing really well about tying these two together and tying it to, and sharing what you're doing in other places, because you can't, they're not necessarily going to figure out like, oh, you're online right now. And actually, one of the suggestions I made, and this might apply to what you're doing too, Chris, but it definitely applies if you're on Unlonely, is I'd love to see an indicator that comes on Warpcast when people are live, like doing something like this on Abura, or doing, on Unlonely or other media clients, so that we have that discoverability of like, oh, they're live right now. Okay, I'm going to go and then just click on it. Similar like the way Twitter Spaces works, or did. It's been, funky. Thanks, Elon. But it used to have that, the purple ring will pop up and you'll be like, oh, so-and-so is talking right now. Great. Let me go and see what's going on there. So we're kind of missing that discoverability piece that we have to kind of solve that problem. So if anyone, has that ability, that would be really cool. Oh no, we lost Bill, but we didn't lose the space. So that's good. There's a win for Abura. There we go.
Bill is not the space. He just creates it.
Bill is not the space. But it's good.
Bill's back, but we lost Alex Louie as well. Does anyone know Alex Louie? I don't feel like I have a connection to them.
I don't.
I'm sure they'll be back if it's interesting, and if it's not, they won't, which is fine.
Sorry, my connection dropped for a second, but I just want to say that I really agree with Prof. Was saying, about a discoverability point, which is all the clients should interoperate with each other. We should all be able to sort of send each other signals, even though some of that are not exactly on a protocol. But it would be nice to see that a unlonely stream is live directly on webcast. Right? I guess right now what Brian is doing, like he's changing his display name every time he's on live. So I guess that's a good way to hack it. But to do it on scale, it would be great to have that on webcast.
Like if anybody has that ability, I just, this is a tech ability I don't have for this idea, but I think that would be a really cool thing for Purple to help fund or retro fund if there's a dev who could figure that out and solve that problem. Especially if you could just click on the person's profile, you see the purple ring blinking or whatever, and you click on their profile and it tells you where they are. It tells you they're on a burr and you click over and you go over there, or it tells you they're on Unlonely or whatever, else will come. Or it could even be like, Chris, within your own client, maybe there's something that's, live creation or something. So I think there's, that would be a really cool feature so that we don't, people could just be on Warpcast, but also still discover these other media clients. That would be really helpful, I think. So,
Bill, just to riff on that thought a bit of what she's saying, wouldn't that be one of the something that comes out from like the data when the client's asking to authorize for that particular account? Does it have like? Go ahead.
It works if a new user is signing into a new client. For example, when you are trying to get into this Abura app, you have to connect with Webcast, and that sort of sends out an on-chain transaction, and it can track that. But if you log back in, you're not going to get anything on-chain, right? So there, I guess there needs to be some sort of communication protocol between clients so that we can communicate with each other, and say that, okay, this space is live or this stream is live. And we don't have to use blockchain for that because, I guess it's pretty straightforward communication and we don't need any consensus around, which transaction you should go through. We just need to tell them, okay, this space is live and you can put a dot somewhere.
Got it.
also, Brian's hack is great, except when he forgets to change it. Sometimes it says he's live and he's not. Yeah. He forgets all the time, and it just says he's live and he's not really.
On the on the kind of funding side, I'm curious about thoughts and things, because I'm kind of aware that I'm building this sort of as an artist rather than as a founder. Obviously I am founding something and maybe it'll go somewhere, but it's not like I'm searching for a strong commercial fit. I'm kind of searching for a strong nourishment fit, I guess. And I think I'm doing something that's kind of an interesting and useful experiment for the community as a whole. But I obviously need to kind of work out some kind of underlying financial model for it to keep being able to justify putting my time into it. Just kind of curious how you guys might think about that, or how you think about it for yourselves with what you're doing, or any thoughts?
I have a lot of thoughts around this, but I'm going to try to summarize it into this, which is, I think you have two extremely competing ideas, and you need to be highly opinionated to even get started. And so you either have to lean on one side or the other. So it's either the monetization side or the nourishing, the deep nourishing side. But trying to find a balance between those two things so early on is going to be very difficult, because they are like really, really tough ideas that rarely can get started like at the very beginning of a client or a product, because then you're trying to build something for everyone, and that's just really, really hard to do.
Yeah, I had some similar thoughts. Like, so when I'm thinking about, I'll just take GM Farcaster as an example. Like I am not even thinking about monetization, and I probably won't for at least another 2 months, because I need to build this, find the audience, and just see if I enjoy it, if I like it. Because with that monetization comes expectation from those who are paying you. So if I can, I want to be able to have some freedom to build this the way we want to build it, the way Adrian and I, think makes sense for us, and make sure we've got it where we want it to be before we even think about that. Now, on the other side of it, though, yes, I am dropping mints. People can mint them. There are some, but they're free, but you get the Zora creator reward. So there's a little bit of, tiny bit of monetization coming in, but it's not my focus in the slightest, right? I'm really doing that as a platform for the location where the recording lives is more important to me than the fact that you can mint it, but I also like to mint things. So that's just, a little bit about me and something I want for me. So it's, I think building it for yourself, building it the way you want it to be before monetizing is helpful if you can do that. That's not always possible. But if you can, I think it's a much better approach, and it's going to be a much more authentic approach, and probably will deliver a better product in the long run, than trying to, meet expectations of those who might be funding you in whatever way that comes. So just my 2 cents on that for what I'm doing.
And I'd also echo that point and say, um, you know, I understand not everybody can start out without thinking about any monetization plan, but if you could do that, that is a great way to demonstrate your value add to the community before you sort of think about ways to add a monetization layer on top of it. And at the same time, obviously, you could apply for grants, from Purple, and Webcast now also has a retroactive fund, and there are other types of sort of grant program, right, in the Web3 space, and some of them are like micro grants, and hard to get it. Like in my personal experience, I've applied for some grant, and like I don't know why they even approved my grant, and then I got the money, and I never heard back from them again. And so, but I guess that was in a different market. But my point is, like there are all kinds of funding sources that you could explore.
Nice, thanks, guys. No, I'm definitely like doing this for myself, kind of scratching my own itch. I'm trying to create the thing that I wished existed, and building something that I find fun, fundamentally. And like if I go back to that kind of key equation for me, which is fun, is connection plus flow plus play. It's like, well, the connection is right here. like in doing this stuff, I just get deep flow from building. I just like I'd rather do that than watch TV, or increasingly see my friends, which is troubling. I like my real life friends, not you guys, obviously. And then...
I feel that in my core. Like, I feel that so much. I would rather, and this is awful, and but I would there's most of the time I would rather spend time with you all than a lot of my, IRL, friends and or other, things. And I gotta work that out a little bit. I think what I need is more of you all in my IRL, and that'll work fine. Like, that's pretty much what I need, and then we'll work that
out. Love that. Right, where do you need to move to? That's the question.
In Australia. I know the exact answer.
It's like a 15-hour flight.
Oh, this has been awesome, guys. I'm mindful that we're kind of coming up on an hour, so I was wondering, just like quite a tight question, or maybe a quite tight question, but I'm like, one of the things I want to do is to make sure that I'm facilitating us to co-create something once a month, and so curious to know what hits. I'd literally just kind of been just laying out some like topic areas that I'm like, if I'm going to get at the kind of the core values, the core themes that I'm exploring, if I just chuck these out, and if you want to reflect back anything that goes, yeah, that sounds interesting to explore, I'd love to hear. So just as just quick run, positive emotions, vulnerability, wisdom, delight, play, creativity, well-being. I've got some more, but I'm gonna hold it there.
All of that, yeah, absolutely. I could see some great creations coming from each one of those types of topics. I love that.
Is there any that particularly energizes you, that you particularly go, oh yeah?
And I can't remember what it was now.
Positive emotions, vulnerability, wisdom, delight, play.
Wisdom grabbed me, and I don't know why. Wisdom was interesting.
Yeah, interesting.
I think because I don't think of creativity and wisdom going together. I think that's why it jumped out at me.
Yeah, interesting. Anyone else?
Creativity, and especially the fact that you're doing this co-creation. This is creativity source from the community.
Nice.
I want to call on one thing. I don't think there's a lot of people trying to do what you do, and I think I think you know that, Chris. And I've always said it every time I've interacted in one of your spaces. It's like you are trying to tap into a very natural fit of ideas in small communities, and for me, somehow you always bring it out towards the end, and you do an amazing job at that. So I just wanted to call it out. And I think you're really good at it, so I'm glad you're pursuing it.
Thank you, Les. I really appreciate that. And +1 on the purple heart emoji, Bill. Get on it, man.
Okay, roger that.
Oh, guys, it's been so lovely hanging out. I really appreciate you taking the time, and yeah, excited to see where this all goes over the next little while. I guess I'll keep sticking stuff on the Telegram. I'll obviously be on Walkcast all the time. and the client kind of works. I just need to sort out how I store the signers so they're just not in local storage. But once I've done that, I think we can like come and chat over there on the channel.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Go have a wonderful day. And
thank you, Chris. This has been a great chat. I got a lot out of it.
Really enjoyed it, and thank you for organizing this.
Pleasure. Thanks for creating the space, Bill.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening, K-Mac, and anyone on the web. Take care, guys.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Hey.